Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for sitting in on the OMA focus group. We have a really fun panel, and we're going to get right into it. This is definitely a wonderful, wonderful group that's going to share best practices, their decision-making skills, and we've got so many fun people. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go absolutely straight into it. What do you think, Kevin? You want to do that?
Let's go.
All right, good. So I'm going to run this question by each of the people that are on the panel. Again, each person, as I go to you for this first round of question, I want you to say your name and who you work with and what your responsibilities are in a nutshell, and then go in and answer the question. Is everybody ready for that? All right. Sure. First question, Melissa, we'll start with you.
Great.
So Melissa, I'm going to hit you with, what do you look for in a relocation and logistics provider? So first, tell us who you are, and then go ahead and answer the question.
Melissa Crossland. I'm with Great American Insurance, based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I handle all the furniture, all the relocation services for the company. So what we typically look for is the company's experience, their manpower, their reputation is important to us. We typically use the same company in Cincinnati. We've had a long-term relationship with them. Relationship means a lot to us. They've been very reliable. So that's important to us. But when we're looking at larger jobs, typically we do RFPs, and we do look at these qualifications in other companies and look at their references and just see that they're capable of completing the job for us.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Mm-hmm. Frank, we're going to go to you. Again, what do you look for in a relocation and logistics provider? And start with who you are.
I'm Frank Nielsen. I work for Holmris B8 in Denmark, and my responsibilities are logistics and business services. And what we look for is global reach, but also local knowledge. We're a small Danish company, so we are not. We need someone else to be present for us everywhere in the world. And it's important for us that our service provider can do the full package. As I said before, we're not present, so we rely on our partnerships. Rely on our partners to deliver the full package as we could do ourselves in the Nordic countries.
That's great. Hey, Thomas, I'm going to hit you with the same thing. What are you looking for when you're looking at relocation and logistics providers, and let us know who you are.
First of all, working for the same company as Frank, but in the sales division, I'm responsible for all of our export division here. We are a Nordic manufacturer of office furniture, one of the largest here in Scandinavia. And what we do is that we follow our Nordic clients globally. So we run a lot of projects in America, in Asia, Africa, all over the world. And what do I look for besides of copying almost everything Frank have said? I can add on and say that we really love working with independent service partners because we have a lot of projects going on all the time. And the best thing I know is that if I can find a loyal, good company to work with, where I can hand over like all the installation, the logistic part to our partner, and then actually I can sit in another plane and go to another part of the world and try to win a new project. So yeah, very easy.
That's great. Thanks, Thomas. All right, Chris, we've got you. Let us know a little bit about yourself and what are you looking for in a provider?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, this is Chris Opapari. I work for CBRE, and I work on the account that supports General Electric. I'm particularly on the North America team. So even though I'm based in Denver, we take care of GE sites across North America. So one of the main things that we look for in a provider is the ability to have a broad array of services, because typically when we're executing a move, many times it's a move out of a site that may be closing or something like that. So we need the provider not only to provide relocation services, but also a variety of decommissioning services for a facility as well. It's really important to be able to fold a lot of things under a single umbrella so we don't have to deal with multiple vendors, multiple POs, things like that. So that's a big issue for us. And then like the other respondents said, just dependability so that we can form a long-term relationship with someone that we know we can count on.
That's great. That's great. All great stuff, guys. Thanks a lot. Let's go right into the next question. What are the true separators or differentiators from one provider to another? We'll go in reverse order. Chris, I'm going to come right back to you. What do you recognize as those real differentiators in the market in 2020 and going into 2021?
Right now, and probably always, in the climate that General Electric operates in, cost is the number one driver in us making hiring decisions whenever we're bidding. That far outweighs any other factor. Occasionally we do single source projects, so we're not in a bid situation. So in that case, just geographic reach, like I think Thomas was talking about, just being able to be in different places and different geographies is a big help so that we don't have to go into a local market and try to find a vendor that is unproven to us.
Okay, great. Thomas, what are you looking at when it comes to differentiators?
Yeah, but I probably want to say exactly the same as mentioned here before, that for us the ideal way is to find somebody who can help us all over the world. And I rather want to pay a bit extra in that case to make sure that we are secure to get the same kind of service and don't take any chances, because we are the face in some way for our clients. And if we find a local partner which we don't have any relationship with, and they do things the wrong way, we end up being the one who needs to say sorry. So for us, it's about finding a partner with let's say we can build a long-term relation with.
I love it. Thank you. And Frank, same thing to you. When you're thinking differentiator, what kind of comes to your mind? Frank, are you still there, bud? I got you. All right, I'm gonna go to Melissa. Melissa, jump in. When it comes to differentiators, what are you looking at, or what stands out to you?
I would say the same thing, partnership and just being able to offer a variety of the services, including decommission. Cost is typically not number one on our list. We really look at reliability from the company, reputation, because again, like Thomas said, we are the face of our client, and if things go wrong, we are the ones who have to explain when things go awry. So it's important to have someone who's reliable and great communication with us, and can provide the array of services that we need.
Thank you. Hey, Frank, are you back up? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, something happened. Yes.
Frank, you're halfway around the world. You're so kind to give us your time. It's okay if we have a technical glitch. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you just stand out, talk to me a little bit when it comes to you, when you get into the meat of when you're separating one provider to another. What's something that stands out to you as a differentiator?
Well, I think most things have been said. It's important for us when we look for service providers that a single point of contact for us. One company that do a variety of things. I think it's the same as everyone else said. But it is important. It's new countries for us. We can't find 5 different service providers for each project. It's impossible. So we need to rely on one partner. If possible.
Thanks, Kevin. What are you hearing? Kevin, you've been in the business a long time. In general, what are some differentiators that you're actually hearing, even recently?
I'm hearing the single source, the the ability to do a lot of things as an organization. I think part of that is, bigger than just what we're going through with this weird time. I think it's, trying to manage people. The organizations have less and less folks trying to do more and more, so they need to rely upon their vendors to do with in the single point of contact. I think is, as we say, the one hand to shake. I think that's big, and then it ties into trust. There's an element of trust. You have to have a trusting relationship. So if the vendor has credibility or has a reputation or whatever about the way they work, I think that becomes a differentiator many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually will pipe in because I think everybody on here knows that I've got experience in this too. My biggest thing is that will they prioritize my job as much as any other job, right? I mean, that's kind of, we talk a lot about getting the A team, right? And I always felt like if I wanted the A team for my client. So I think if all the providers, if all they have are A teams, so then we're in pretty good shape. So let's go into this next question. And again, Melissa, I'm going to start with you. Kind of leads us right into this, right? The experience of the provider. You mentioned that you lean heavily on one provider. Talk to me about how important is that experience to you?
It's very important to us. Most of our offices are located within United States, but we obviously do things all over the United States. So it's important that they have good partnerships, all different locations. And, the single point of contact is important. We deal with one person on all of our jobs. All the communication goes through one person. And, now with COVID right now, we have not been able to travel. So it's been even more important that communication with the providers and sending pictures and updates as things are happening real time, because we're used to being there and supervising things firsthand, and we have not been able to do that. So right now is, totally different than we've ever experienced, and it's really important to have good service providers right now.
Thanks. Frank, we'll go to you. When you're looking at providers, how important is that? And I guess it's kind of like a two-faceted experience question, and y'all answer it however you want. Experience with you as a company, and then just the general experience of the provider. So kind of, I guess there's two ways to answer it, and you answer it however you want. Okay, Frank?
Oh, can you repeat that?
Okay, so how important is experience to you? Experience with you, your experience with the provider, and then also the experience of the provider. How important is that to you? The work experience.
The experience of the provider is of course very important. I'm not sure I understood the second part.
Well, like working with you. So sometimes, understanding your standard operating procedures as a company, like how important, because you've got two different things, right? The experience with you, working with you directly, or just their general experience in the marketplace.
Yes, but both equally important. Of course, it's important that they know and have experience with the market, but also that, and I think I've written a few notes to the next question, actually, that it's extremely important that the service provider understands our relations with our customers. So of course, that experience, that means that the experience with working with us is important as well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does, right? And there is no wrong answer. We're just looking for this. Is literally a focus group. That they're absolutely, there might be wrong questions. I might be asking the question wrong, but there is absolutely no wrong answer. Okay, Thomas, talk to me a little bit about the experience of a provider and how does that impact you, and how important is that to you?
Yeah, if I should go back to like my business, which is about the sales, experience is extremely important, because what actually happened when we do sell projects globally is that this potential sale for a Nordic client is based on some kind of a global framework agreement where prices for products, etc., might be settled from the very beginning, meaning that often I am not even at visiting the site, visiting the client physically before we end up sending products there, and we need some kind of service for sampling the products. So the first people who are going to visit the site and say hello to the client is actually our service provider. So for us, the experience having a service provider that knows us, that are used to talk to us, that knows our products, looks professional when they step into the office, is extremely important because they are actually our face. So therefore, back to the organization of OMA, where we in some way secure that there might be a high chance for the same people from the OMA organization visiting our clients once again over time, right? So they know who we are. They might even tell our story. They might even be good at introducing Nordic furniture to the client. So that is very valuable for us.
That's great. Chris, talk to me about the importance of experience when it comes to dealing with you.
I mean, to me, the direct experience with the vendor is more important than the experience in the marketplace, because honestly, you know, when you're thinking about a scenario where you're starting to use a new provider you don't have a relationship with yet, every provider that you meet, you know, in their marketing materials tells you how much experience they have. You know, they've been around forever, they can do everything for you. It doesn't really mean anything until you actually have the direct experience with them on a project. That's really, to me, what cements the relationship. I mean, you know, we haven't used OMA for a long time, you know, but you know, the reason we started to use them, honestly, is because Mike, in a very nice way, just wouldn't leave us alone. He kept contacting us over and over again. And eventually we had a project opportunity that we were bidding that made sense to add OMA to the bid list. And OMA was the low bidder. So that's kind of how our relationship started on a particular project. And because, you know, OMA performed very well on it, it's led to a lot of additional opportunities since then. So that direct relationship on working together on a project is what made me want to continue to work with OMA.
I love it. I love it. Kevin, is there anything that you can add when it comes to experience?
Not really. I think the experience, it's kind of a double-edged, you know, sword. Is experience with a vendor only happens when you get a chance to have the experience. So what gives that opportunity for someone to get experience with you as a customer is, you know, kind of, you know, hopefully we can dig out a little bit today through this conversation, and maybe one of it's the next question about relationships. So what are those things that allow a new vendor to get the opportunity to gain experience with you?
That's great. Well, let's go straight. The next question is, I'm going to kind of paraphrase the next question is, what are the key elements of a strong relationship? This is a very personal answer, and just share your insights. Like, what defines a strong relationship with a provider for you? It obviously would be nice if it was, you know, logistics and moving related, but you know, think about all your vendors. You know, what are the ones that you're like, I have a strong relationship with them because Melissa, go.
I would say trust, reliability. You know, a lot of our vendors, sometimes things are out of our control. We have to get people there very quickly. You know, they bend over backwards to get people there and get it done and make us look good. So I would say those are the three important to us.
Love it. Frank, elements of a strong relationship with a vendor.
Well, to me, it's a thinking partnership, you know, that both parts are in it for the long term. And also a high service level, you know, extra mile mentality, and you know, a business mindset that goes both ways.
I like it. Thomas, what defines a good, strong relationship for you?
Oh, I can only support Melissa and as well as Frank, but maybe I could dig a bit further down to like the project part, because when we ship products globally, that there might be 70 days for us on the sea when we ship a container to Bangalore in India. So when we do the installation, if some kind of a product should be damaged during emptying the container or something, and now and then we need a partner who can solve problems locally, because we can't wait for a new shipment to arrive to make things happen in the first place. So we also need to work with people who are open to fix things and do them on themselves, on their own, without involving us. So that was just an add-on on a more practical scale. Yeah,
I love it. Thanks. Hey, Chris, talk to me about a strong relationship with a vendor.
Yeah, I mean, I think the comments that everyone else made were right in line with what I was thinking. I guess the only additions to that would be, responsiveness is important. I work in an environment where we're a third-party vendor ourselves, serving GE as a client. So anything that the vendor does that's good makes us look good. Anything they do that's bad makes us look bad too, to our customer ultimately. So, the level of responsiveness is really important, so that when our client asks us things, we can get back to them on a timely basis. I think another thing that's important to us is just a safety consciousness. Safety is really important to GE, so we stress that with our vendors, and having a robust safety program is really beneficial.
That's great. That's great. I always found that the best vendors, sometimes when it comes to good relationships, are the ones that were willing to give bad news quickly. It's not always good to give bad news, but my gosh, I mean that's one of those that I want bad news as quickly as possible.
Right. Give it to me straight and don't beat around the bush.
Nope. I'm too old to BS somebody. So
I agree.
So, all right, let's go into price real quick. And this one, we've keyed in on it a little bit. So just be thinking about, and I'm gonna start with you, Chris. How important is price? And I don't want to get too deep into accurate bidding or how you have to analyze and compare apples to oranges when it comes to actually how people are bidding it. But let's just talk specifically, how important is the price when it comes to selecting a vendor? Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, for us, it's by far the number one criteria when we're selecting a vendor. I mean, when we do a bid process, we're assuming that we're only bidding to qualified vendors to begin with. So no matter which vendor submits their bid, they should be qualified. So price is the number one differentiator when we're recommending to our client who we should hire. I think the other comment I'd like to make about price, that it's really frustrating when you work with a vendor on a project and they kind of nickel and dime you every time there's a very minor scope change and they come back for more money. So and that's not the experience I've had with OMA. I'm not saying that, but just the ability for the vendor to be able to kind of roll with the punches to a degree and not always constantly come back and ask for extra money is really important.
That's fair. Thomas, talk to me about when it comes to price. Where are we on the scale there?
Yeah, but price is, of course, as always, important as it is in I assume, all kind of businesses. For us, the price we bid in when we do tenders, when we do larger project, the installation, the service price is some way included in the total package. So. And that might have a minor part of the total package. But of course it's important, and it's important for us because when we do global sales, that specific line in the bottom of the quotation is actually visible for the client to see, like, okay, what is the installation price actually? It's not like we are not bidding in like a typical local, that could be in Haworth, for example, that they have built in installation and services into the unit prices of the products. We don't do that in Denmark the same way. So we need to make sure that it's not an eye catcher in the wrong way when we put in a price for services and installation. So price is important, and the funny thing is actually that half of the time, the prices and the response from the client on the price for some regions are very good and positive, and for other projects, it might be questioned why is the local why is the installation that high and so on, and then often it's because maybe we have not provided the exact information to, for example, OMA in terms of access to the building. Do we need to reload trucks, etc., before we go on site? So I think we need to make sure that we are getting, as a company, even better to feed our service partners with the correct details from the beginning. Then I also think we can align the prices on a more competitive level. Yeah.
Thanks, Thomas. Frank, kind of touch on that a little bit. How important is price to you?
Well, as Thomas said, price is important, but also quality is important. And we try, of course, to say, for instance, in America, where we've done projects with OMA, we know the pricing. That's the prices we present to our customers, and because we know that the quality and the price match. Should the customer come back and say it's too expensive, then of course we have to look for alternatives. But we try actually to provide the package and the price for the package that we know on the markets that we know. Of course, we also go to countries. Thomas will go to a new country where we've never been before, and we rely 100% on the price, on the quotation we get. And then sometimes it's fine, and sometimes we have to redo it. And maybe because we didn't provide you with enough information, and sometimes because the customer had a local provider that was cheaper.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. Melissa, talk to me about price. Where is it on your scale?
I would say it's somewhat important, but it's not the most important to us. The service is obviously number one to us, so we're willing to pay a little bit more if we know the service provider is going to be better. But it also depends on the type of project as well. With decommission, if I'm throwing furniture away, I would say, I'm not willing to pay somebody a lot more just to throw furniture away for me. So we take that into account, what type of project it is. But, price is not always our number one decider. I would say, the reliability and the service is number one to us.
Okay, very good. Thanks, guys. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'd like to circle back to Chris just real quick. You'd mentioned, obviously, price is number one, and you'd mentioned that you're assuming you're working with all qualified vendors, so then price is the only differentiator at the end. There's a lot of situations where it isn't an equal vendor to vendor, so someone can be cheaper because they don't provide the same services. Could you quickly share with us what GE does? What are those key things are important that says to you, we have equal vendors? What are some of those key things you're comparing between the vendors?
I mean, the things that we compare other than price, safety is probably the second criteria that we look at when we're evaluating a bid. We definitely want evidence that it's not just a token, part of their bid or their project team. We want to make sure it's resourced properly and that there's a clear program in place to ensure that there's a safe execution of the project. So I'd say that's the second item. And then the third item is probably just the ability to fold as many services under one umbrella, whether it's being able to hire an electrician, someone to remove an air conditioning unit, whatever other things may be the case. It's just very cumbersome from a sourcing perspective in the environment we operate in to have to source multiple vendors for a single project. So I'd say those are a couple of other things other than price.
Thanks.
Sure. Thanks. That was a great follow-up question too. All right, let's talk about technology, guys. We're going to go straight into technology, which I hope that it's important to you, because obviously we were sitting here on Zoom in the fall of 2020, and I think technology is only going to become a bigger and bigger part of our job. So how important is it to you right now, and how do you see it impacting us in the future? Let's go straight to you, Chris. How important is technology when it comes to selecting a provider?
I mean, honestly, it's not a huge factor for us, Mike. Just due to the fact that most of the actual work that's executed is manual labor. To me, things like dependability and responsiveness are more important. The technology piece is not a big differentiator in our hiring decisions.
That's fair. All right, good. Thomas, talk to me about technology when it comes to you and picking a provider.
Actually, maybe a bit more important than what Chris just mentioned here, because when we do installations globally, back in the days, we often send out a supervisor from Denmark, which is very costly, and then maybe he hooked up with a team of OMA people in that specific country. And we have actually figured out here, due to COVID and so on, maybe that was not the only reason for it, but we actually figured out that we can do a lot of sessions just like we do right now over Zoom, where we can actually save a flight ticket and maybe a week of hard work for a supervisor from Denmark, and that specific supervisor can now be based in Denmark and maybe do 3-4 projects at the same time, where he's online for installations globally. So for us, technology is important with in that aspect, as I mentioned here.
Okay. And Frank, talk to me about how technology is impacting you when it comes to even selecting vendors, or how important is it on your project right now?
As Thomas said, there is the actual projects where things like Zoom and FaceTime and whatever it's called, we're already using that. I think also it's already important and becomes more and more important that real-time information. I mean, we're working already on different time, globally, and sometimes, if there is a claim on our products or whatever, it can be days because of the slow communication. So it is important for us to have more real-time information, so that when we get meet in the morning, get into the work in the morning, we can react straight away. And we haven't figured this out yet, not everywhere in the world, but that's something we're working on, and technology is a big part of that.
Yep. Melissa, how is technology impacting you, and how important is it to you in your job right now?
I would say we're similar to what Chris said. It's not been a huge factor to us. The manpower and just reliability of the vendor is the biggest thing to us. But I know as things have changed over the last 6 months, I think technology is definitely going to become more of a part, especially with us not being able to be on site. I've had to have FaceTime calls or Zoom calls with people, and even walking a space doing a FaceTime. So, I think that's going to be more important as things go forward. And if we can't be on site, just to make sure that, spaces are cleaned out and how we expect them, and, doing that in a real-time fashion.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I'll interject here a little bit. I'm not old, but I remember being excited, being able to have a digital camera with the same card that I can put into my Palm or BlackBerry or whatever it was. And then I was able to take that picture of a job site and put it into my phone and send it to somebody while I was there. And I was this is obviously way before the iPhone. And I was just so excited that I could give feedback like that. So I'm obviously a tech geek, but it's so much easier now. So
Yes.
the idea. So we're going to skip right to, this is going to be a kind of a fun one. I want you guys to be like really as throw the gloves off if you want, but we're talking about switching vendors, and everybody on this call has had to do it at some point. Maybe it's not specific to a logistics or mover. Maybe it was a drywall or flooring or lighting, but let's talk. What is it? What are some of the biggest reasons that cause you to switch vendors? And I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go straight to Frank. Frank, what do you got as far as what's really causing you to switch vendors?
Well, it would be, poor quality, poor response times, things like that, things that makes it difficult for us to react as a supplier to our clients. And also, if we find out for whatever reason that on some markets we're already always losing on price or something, then we would have to look into alternative suppliers.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, talk to me about, when you had to move from one vendor to another. I mean, really, what are some of the big reasons that you would switch vendors?
Oh, yeah. I can probably only copy everything Frank said, but maybe it could also be like if for example, let's take OMA as an example. If I have a project in Angola in Africa and I ask OMA if they can provide a good service there, and the response is no, we don't have any partner in OMA that can give you that service in Angola, meaning that I need to find another service partner. So I might go to the Danish embassy and ask for some kind of assistance, and then maybe they give me the opportunity of work with somebody else, which are also based in other countries in that part of Africa. And if I get a high service there, then maybe I have switched overnight based on that information. But yeah, I don't have really any comments besides of what Frank said. Yeah.
No, sure. Chris, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. It sounds like one good reason to switch vendor is because the vendor won't stop calling you, I think is what you said about Mike just wouldn't stop calling you. But talk to me, like going from one vendor to another. Talk to me a little bit about that. Chris?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just trying to get my video started, but let me see.
That's coming.
So you can see my COVID beard.
Okay, yeah, we'd love to see that. We're all rocking a little bit of scruff.
There you go. And my daughter's done with her breakfast.
Okay, good, good.
So, I mean, in terms of switching vendors, to me, the two biggest reasons why we would do that is one would be that they miss a date that they promised that they would meet from a project execution standpoint. Obviously in the arena of project management, schedule is one of the main criteria for success. So if a date's committed to, and mainly I'm talking about the end date, obviously there's interim dates throughout the project where things may shift, but ultimately the end target date has to be met, or that could just be a huge problem. The other thing would be safety. I know I've mentioned it a couple times before, but if the vendor's not taking safety seriously, it's one thing to put a good safety program together, but if you're not executing on the program that you put down on paper, that's a huge problem as well.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Melissa, talk to me about a vendor switch.
I would just say providing bad service. That's the biggest thing for us, or maybe some price gouging. I know we've worked with a lot of vendors for a long time, specifically in Cincinnati. We typically don't switch, but in past experiences, just the pricing keeps going up and up and up, and that has caused us to switch vendors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Hey, can I do I'd like a follow up to that. It's a little bit along those lines, and if everyone real quick could go back and say this is, you have, oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought here.
It's okay, Kevin. We can edit it out.
Go forward. Pass on. Sure? I'll remember. I'll come back to it. There was a follow up to that. It's what I did graduate before Mike. So just so you all know, I'm part of my son.
Well,
I'll come back to it.
I have a bunch of political jokes running through my head right now, but I won't say any of them because I want to keep both sides happy. So, we're going.
I do know. Here it is. Whoop. All right. And we know that having a mistake, screwing up, we all do it as vendors. What do you look for when there is that? What are the key things that a vendor needs to do to continue to have that relationship with you, to continue that trust? What are a couple key elements of that?
I would just say doing what they need to do to make it right. Not trying to cover it up, not trying to make excuses. Work together and make things right and make the client happy.
I think earlier you said something about honesty and kind of proactive. You want them to come to you, not the customer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I want it to come from them. I don't want my customer coming in and, saying, hey, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong. I expect the vendor, hey, if there's issues to get with me right away.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I certainly agree. It's about taking responsibility. And I know you said before, Mike, that that you preferred to get a phone call as quickly as possible if something was wrong. I prefer if they wait a little bit and give me a phone call and tell me what was wrong and how they fixed it.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. That's a great client, and obviously you're picking great vendors that are competent enough to go ahead and fix stuff. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go into now. Again, thank you again, everybody, for being part of this focus group. This next question is about, like, if a vendor was reaching out to you, what modes of communication are best for you? How do you like to be communicated? Do you love it when someone cold calls you 5 times a day? Do you like email? Do you like text? Do you like the voicemail? Do you like, it's ideally, I'm sure everybody that's on here has gone to a conference and gone to a trade show and met other vendors. That's probably not going to be very likely for the next near future. So if you were looking for a new vendor, I think y'all know how I'm asking this. How would you like the vendor to reach out to you? What's the best way to communicate with you? Go ahead, Melissa.
I would say email's the best for me. It's just the easiest way of communication for me.
Okay. All right. And Frank, what would be a good way for a vendor to reach out to you if they were trying to get your business?
I think it's the same. Email is always a good way to create the contact. And then, of course, follow up by something like this is great.
Okay, good. Thomas, what's a good way for a potential vendor to catch your eye and engage you on something?
I think we are all living a busy world, right? So having people calling you now and then is actually can be frustrating, even that you're not meaning to be mean to those people who are contacting you, but that then you just hang up and say, no, I don't have time. So what I do normally is that when I get requests like this, I archive them in my email box, and then I take them up when needed. So email absolutely the best, and if you can present something like we have just done a great case for a client here, and so something we can be that will be a teaser for us to take contact to. How did you actually manage to do a project like this? Then I'm the person who is getting curious and want to hear more. So bring in a showcase of something interesting you have just done before you reach out, or when you reach out. Sorry.
I love it. Chris, I know you've probably dealt with a lot of vendors knocking on your door and trying to reach out to you. What's the best way for someone to catch your eye nowadays?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. Email is the best way to start, and then to propose in an email to have some sort of an introductory phone call when I have time is usually nice, because when I get an email from a vendor, many times I just don't have the time to follow up with it. It could be like a couple months before I have time to really think about it. But then the ability to just kind of when I do have the time, just to sit down with the vendor over the phone and just have kind of an introductory call. What's their capabilities? What are they all about? Just to get a feel for them is a good follow-up to the emails back and forth.
That's great. Thanks, guys. All right, so just to follow up. Please go ahead, Kevin.
As from a social media standpoint, how does that play into you having them communicating with you? Do you go out onto the various social media sites to see what's going on? Do you, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Twitter, those types of things? Is that helpful for someone to communicate past jobs or things like that to you?
For me personally, no, I don't use any of those platforms for work.
Okay.
Sometimes I've reached out on LinkedIn if people have recommendations on certain areas, if I'm looking for somebody for decommission or something like that, but not often.
Frank and Thomas,
maybe now and then when Chris and Mike are sent something, some kind of news email out about something they've just done, if that teaser in the headline is interesting enough, then I actually push the link and try to read further into it. I know that you have done something in the past about COVID workspaces and work from home, etc. And if the topic is interesting enough, the first thing I do is actually to push the link and read more about it. So it could also be a way to make you more visible.
That's great. Frank, is there anything you want to add there? Frank says, Frank, are you there? Check 1 2.
Yeah.
Is there
Yes,
anything
I'm
you want to
here.
add to that, Frank?
I think if you were to pick a specific social media, LinkedIn would be the best place. That's certainly in Denmark. That's where people look for if it's work related. I myself follow OMA on LinkedIn and see all the things you do there. But if you to find new clients, I don't know how they would find you in there.
No, obviously, Frank, I don't know if you know this, but my first book was released this past spring. It was on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is not a way to close business. It's almost one of those ways to just keep putting out great information. Hey, if you like it and it gravitates you to start a conversation, that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I think that's how companies can do it very successfully, is just by putting out value on the off chance that it might hit you on the right day and help you on your job. I think if companies address and treat social more like that, it'll be much less annoying. It'll be less noise and more value. That's my goal. So I think everybody on this group would agree. Last question. If we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the COVID world that we have dealt with in 2020 and will probably impact us for the near future. So let's talk about, again, I will say it, the new normal, I think, and what services and capabilities will be essential for providers in your near future. And your near future might actually go out 3 years. I don't know where you guys are, Chris. You mentioned safety a lot. How is this impacting you when it comes to the services and capabilities when you're picking vendors? Talk to me about what you're considering right now. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, it was a lot bigger deal in the earlier days of COVID because so many states had different mandates for restricting services. Now that things are not as restricted, it hasn't been quite as complicated. Definitely, it's important just within the overall framework of the vendor safety program to be able to have the capabilities to, be aware of local and national regulations related to COVID and to be able to comply with them. So, to me, it just kind of folds into the overall safety consciousness of the vendor. Do they take this stuff seriously, or is it just part of their marketing program to check a box?
That's a great, thank you for sharing. I think that's pretty powerful right there. Thomas, when it comes to our new normal, how's that impacting you, bud?
Yeah, I can only support Chris. Yeah, I don't have any further. I think most important just to stick to the regulations. Here in Denmark, what we do is as long as you stick to the government rules, etc., then there's a huge respect about you. If you start lacking on those and go into buildings without having the right test certificates and etc., then you lose trust. So just stick to the government rules.
Okay, Frank.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas and Chris, but also would like to add that, of course, we need to stick to the regulations, but also understand our clients, changing work environment, because it opens up to new possibilities, new opportunities for new services, and so on. And certainly here in Denmark, we've seen customers react very different creating very different needs in different offices. So I think it's also about adapting to the new demands, if you will.
That's fair. That's fair. Melissa, how is it impacting you when you're dealing with providers and this whole new normal? How's it impacting you?
I would say the same, just abiding by each city's guidelines. We had some pretty big jobs in New York City and California in the beginning of all of the COVID. So there was a lot of guidelines that we had to follow, and we needed to make sure that our vendors were following the strict guidelines, or the buildings wouldn't even let them in. And even going a step further and just going above and beyond afterwards, clients wanted their crates wiped down afterwards because people were going to be unpacking. So you have all these guys touching their crates, and just being willing to take that extra step and provide that service for them.
That's great. That's great. Kevin, is there anything you want to add?
Are there any specific services that you see going to be necessary as part of a logistics or relocation package that the members of OMA should be considering to include if they aren't currently doing it? The single point of contact has come up over and over. Are there any specific services that they should be looking at to get into if they're not already there?
Yes.
Maybe I can put a comment here because we have a lot of requirements from our Nordic clients at the moment for home workspaces, and also delivering those to private houses, etc. In Denmark, you need special, Frank, you know much more about it than I do, but you need special permits to deliver for private people. So to make sure we have this possibility of doing this globally and handle home workspaces and installations in private houses is important, could be important for us. Most of our larger clients, they are actually requiring home offices now, and they want to roll this out within the next half a year to 1 year. And if you give a home workstation to employees in Denmark, most of those company has a company policy that says that everyone should have a workstation, no matter where you live in the world. So that means that we need to be very agile in our way of giving services globally now. So it's not just about doing an installation of 100 workstations for an office in Shanghai. It's about maybe delivering to 50 houses in Shanghai instead. So it can be a tricky one, but it's actually a need from our clients.
Wow. Does anyone else want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I just had a comment. I mean, I've talked a lot about site decommissioning and exiting sites, but on the flip side, for setting up new sites, if OMA has the ability to partner with local resources for installation of audiovisual systems and low voltage cabling, maybe you do already. I just have never asked, so I haven't needed it yet, but that would be beneficial. Sometimes we get into certain cities where we just don't have a vendor that's established in that particular location. So if that can fold under OMA, that would be helpful.
I think I can add that OMA provides that because they've done that for us.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
That's great.
I would also like to add, because what we certainly experience in Europe at the moment, of course, a lot of things has come out of this COVID crisis. But before that, the agenda was very much green in Europe, and it will become green again. So it's all about sustainability. And one thing that we do a lot at the moment is actually providing maintenance and care on furniture, on interior. And it might sound very basic, but it hasn't really been done systematically before. There's a lot of cleaning companies that clean buildings every day, but they don't maintain, surfaces and furniture in general. And I think one of the reasons is for people looking at this now is also because of all the hygiene issues that's been, that comes from the COVID crisis. But really, it's more a way of acting more sustainable because it makes your interior last longer, and that is important now and will become even more important. And we will have to find solutions for that when we provide interior for our clients globally. It's not enough that we can deliver to an office in Shanghai. We'd also have to deliver and provide maintenance for the next 10 years.
That's great. Melissa, is there anything you want to add?
I just think, going forward, I think obviously, things are going to change a lot. So just companies keeping up with trends and, technology and, just making sure that, the communication and the form of communication is kind of real time is important right now.
That's great. That's great. Well,
one extra thing,
Tom,
Mike.
really? No, just
just to stick in the sustainable direction, as Frank mentioned before. Actually, a lot of our clients also do require globally that we can, in some way, take back existing interior and have that as a part of when you do interviews in OMA with the local partners, service partners, and so on. Do this as an important thing, because it is the new normal in Denmark that having this circular setup and no companies here buy new furniture if they can't get rid of the old ones in a sustainable manner. It could either be through donations or take back or recycle, etc. So being able to give that service is extremely important.
Okay. All right, guys. Listen, we have been absolutely amazing. Your insights have been absolutely very, very, very insightful. I learned a lot. I think anybody that listened to this probably, is walking away from it learning a lot too. So on behalf of OMA, I want to just absolutely thank all of you. You're absolutely priceless. Really, you're a great value, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks guys.
For inviting us.
All right. Well, we'll do it again. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.